What's going on, y'all? This is Greg. Greg said it. Back with our inspiration, motivation. As always, we had our live of the week. It was a bye week, so of course we just we talked about this new phenomenon going on. Everybody's kind of sliding back with Colorado. Sliding back now. All of a sudden, Colorado is like number 2 in the conference behind BYU. That was the most recent. Maybe updated because now I'm saying that Iowa is now ranked number 11. Iowa State is now the top ranked in the conference. They're 11th. I think around 14th is BYU. I think about 16 is Utah. And I think good old Kansas State is like right around 18. So the beauty is we play a ranked team this week. Let's say we couldn't beat. So that's a good opportunity for Colorado. We also see that I don't know how long Utah is going to maintain theirs. It's interesting. I know they were ranked pretty high, but they lost to a unranked Arizona in pretty decent fashion, and they're still ranked in the top 20. So not just top 25, but top 20. So if they can maintain, I don't know. I know Utah's going to have to face BYU, I believe, before us. If they can maintain, that would be great. If not, it'd be great because Colorado's in the place now. They're ranked like around number 2 in the conference. Maybe 3. I don't know if they moved Iowa State up, but Iowa State is undefeated in the conference. BYU's undefeated in the conference. Colorado is undefeated in the conference. Arizona is no longer undefeated in the conference. Technically, they lost 2 conference games, but only 1 counted. They just lost this past week. So it's going to be interesting because teams are going to kind of cannibalize each other. Now, when you start seeing teams losing 1, 2, 3, once they get to 2 and 3 games, it's going to be kind of lights out, especially if you got teams that's maintaining the undefeated run. And the beauty is we don't play BYU. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. And we don't play Iowa State, and we're the only ones undefeated. Neither do they play each other. I thought at least if we didn't play them that they would play each other. So it's going to be up to a sneaky team to catch up with BYU. I think they play Utah. It's a chance that they don't lose any of those teams. It's a chance. But as we see in college football, no matter how great you think you are, you can lose. You saw Alabama lose. You saw Missouri lose. You saw Michigan lose. We saw several teams to lose. Alabama was the most shocking. Lose to Vanderbilt. Like, it's supposed to be a gimme game. I think even with Arizona, they lost to Texas Tech from what I hear. So it's like a lot of people kind of look over Texas Tech, but they have that ability. And I know Colorado has to go down there. A lot of people put Colorado as not winning no conference games. And then, okay, they beat Baylor. But then they say, okay, you have no other shot of winning any more conference games. So, I don't know. I think week by week, they put Colorado in a place where they can't win. And that's going to be interesting. At the same time, there's going to be some teams that I don't know if it's going to matter as much. Let's say Kansas State. They've already lost 1. And Oklahoma State's pretty much taking themselves out. Kansas pretty much taking themselves out with the amount of games they've lost. So the teams that everybody thought was going to be those guys, they pretty much were all on our side. And they loaded us up with the teams that supposed to be the guys. Utah, Arizona, Kansas State. They just loaded us up with that. They didn't give us none of the other side, the BYU. They didn't give us the Iowa State, West Virginia. And I think they thought they were setting us up. But the reality is the teams that really going to matter, the way they're playing, we don't play. And the teams that we do play, we just got to win. But at the same time, we're not really competing with Oklahoma State anymore. Arizona is about out the door, especially we beat them. Kansas State, they got to go against some boys too. So they could easily lose even after us a couple games. It's going to be a lot of teams with 3 losses, the way it's looking. All Colorado has to do, you want to have to outperform BYU and Iowa State, which is looking kind of tight. because it's almost like that conference game, the way it's looking, unless it just derails, it's looking like it's going to be a battle of an undefeated and or one lost team in that conference championship. That means you can't afford to lose 2 games. Unless, like I said, the BYU train just goes off and the Iowa State train just goes all the way off the rails. That's what it's looking like. You have no room to get no gimme games like Alabama did with Vanderbilt. You have no room for that. But the beauty of it all is, according to everybody, just even a few weeks ago, Colorado is not even supposed to be here. They're supposed to have been like 12th out of like 15, 16 teams, something like that. They're supposed to have been not have won any games. Matter of fact, lose all their games in the conference. They're supposed to be a laughing stock for to have a chance. And this is almost negative. It's like horrible percent chance of winning the conference too. Oh, they could easily win the conference. Now they're banking on them only losing 1 game out of the games left. I don't know what game that is, but it's interesting they even saying that much. Colorado is in position exactly where they need to be at this point. The team is peaking. The team is, they're not peaking. They're elevating, but they're going upward. They're not going downward. They're getting better. We haven't really seen the team at their full ceiling, even though people think they are, because they have such a low bar. They think Colorado's at their ceiling. No, the running game is just not really getting it going. The defense is starting to kind of feel themselves. Offensive line is figuring things out. Everybody's getting used to playing together. Receiving corps is getting more games under their belt. The coaches are getting more games under their belt as far as coaching together. And, defense coordinators never done it. Everybody's getting better. They're getting more familiar with this process. It's not a ceiling at all. And the beauty is, what if Colorado's even better? Because you got to think about even the games that they have won so far, especially prior to the UCF game, they spotted a lot of stuff. They spotted UCF. They just had such a big lead and turnovers and stuff like that. But Colorado spotted teams a couple touchdowns a game. Easy. And nobody's really scoring a significant amount. I mean, the defense has kept all teams that they played to 7 points or less in the second half. A lot of the points that have been scored has been in the first half. And then you include some special teams mishaps like we've seen at Baylor. But outside of that, of course, you take out Colorado State, who didn't really do much at all. Anything that teams have gotten, it's been Colorado's mistakes, not necessarily the team just overpowered them. You can say Nebraska did in some ways as far as in the trenches, but even when you look at, okay, they got a pick 6. That wasn't on the defense. They only scored, what was it, 27, some 24? They only scored that many points. And Colorado didn't score as much that game. But realistically, if Colorado was playing like they played, that would have been enough to beat them if the offense was performing like it should at that time. Because Nebraska didn't really score a lot of points. I think they may have scored 14 to 21. And we had a drop interception with the linebacker Bentley. So it was some plays that they could have made. It was some mistakes that they made. It was some calls that made the game further out of reach. It's a lot of things that went on. But for the most part, we can say teams that hung around with Colorado has been because Colorado's own mistakes. With them cleaning up their own mistakes, not being outplayed or outcoached necessarily, but them cleaning up their own mistakes. Even in the coaching department, they are pretty dangerous, especially as that defense continues to be stingy, especially as that offense heats up. It's like the good saying, it's not even a saying. In the good book, it's a scripture that says, the last should be first and the first should be last. That's interesting. Because when we started off this season, the teams that were first were the Utahs and the Kansas States, and the Oklahoma State was up there very high, and even including some Arizona. But now you're seeing teams like the Colorados and even the BYUs and the Iowa States who nobody was checking on. Now they are the first. Now they are the guys that could do it all, win it all. And now that saying is looking very true. And the joke is no longer on Colorado. The joke is on you. It's on you who doubted Colorado. It's on you who thought it was a joke. It was on you who said they can't win. They can't win FBS. Okay, they can't win in conference. And kept moving. Instead of looking at them for who they really are. So they had one really good game. If you paid any attention while you was clowning, you will see Colorado has been getting better week by week. Their defense is getting better week by week. Their team is getting better week by week. They're consistently growing and how they're operating. They're getting a feel for themselves. So it's going to be interesting. Because Colorado's still not ranked. I don't know where they are because everybody look at the top 25. But now we're looking at what happens when they beat Kansas State. Not if, when they beat Kansas State. Who's ranked number 18? Where does that put Colorado? If we see teams like Alabama, they lost. They lost to unranked teams. They didn't lose to Georgia. They got a few spots back. And even though they're behind Georgia now, they're still in the top 10. Tennessee lost to Arkansas? Wasn't ranked. And they only lost a few spots. We see teams lost and only lost a few spots. Even when Utah lost, they still in the top 20. We don't know how this thing, what is the methodology? It's voting, it's this and that. But it's no longer going to be deniable. Once Colorado beats Kansas State, it's not going to be a question of should they be ranked. And if they keep winning, you're going to have to get them the proper ranking. Because we know for you to get to that playoff, yeah, you got to win your conference and all. We're not playing them kind of games. You got to get to the top 12. And all those teams up there that's lost, okay, only lost one game, they're going to be on the same level, record-wise. You keep not losing. But if they lose more, which clearly they're capable of losing, it's going to get really interesting over the next few weeks with these teams who are in the top 10s, who already taken their first loss to teams they shouldn't have lost to. Now, when they lose to teams that's on their level or better, and they started having 2 and 3 losses, we're going to see what the excuse is going to be when you have a quote-unquote SEC team, and talking that SEC talk, when Oklahoma State beat Arkansas in the beginning of the year? And they're nobody in our conference. And they beat Arkansas the first game. So you can't talk this, can't beat SEC. It's not going to be no conversations about it. When you look at the fact that if you got some Big 12 teams who got 1 loss, or even maybe 2, and you got all these SEC teams who they taking losses when they don't need to be taking them, and they end up playing each other as they get past the cupcake phase of the schedule, somebody got to lose when you play each other. And they start having 3 losses, and you have no excuse to rank them. You act like the conference so much better, but you have no excuse to rank them over a 1-loss Big 12 team, a 1-loss Colorado, a 1-loss. It should be a point, because we already seeing with Iowa State that they're kind of right on the edge. They're at number 11. And they are one of those undefeated teams at 11. And right on their backs is BYU. And like I said, I don't really see them losing anytime soon. But we'll see how this thing goes. Colorado got to do what they got to do, because if they don't fully, not saying that because they already don't succeed what the clowns say, but if BYU continues to play well and they don't have to play Iowa State and they don't lose no games, and you mess around and go lose Colorado, then you just took yourself out the conference title role. And get them an excuse not to put you in the top 12, while those other teams will be in the conference and they can possibly in the top 12. If they keep winning, everybody else going to lose. So, again, it's a good place to be in. Better than before. Better than what people expected. But we're not done yet. We're not content. We're not satisfied. We want it all. Because we owe it to the people who said it couldn't be done. Skull Buffs. Greg said it. Like, share, subscribe. And I'll be talking to y'all soon.